Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07. Good morning. It's O'Connor and Company. This Tuesday morning, the 6th day of January, January 6th. Why does that date ring a bell? Oh, you know what? All I've got to do is turn on MSNBC and I'll be reminded. They just love their little anniversary commemorations. Okay. Coming up today at 6:35, Zach Smith Heritage Foundation talk about the legal case against Nicolas Maduro and what it's going to look like in U.S. courts to bring him to justice. 7:05, Dustin Grage. He's an investigative journalist in Minnesota, so he's all over the Tim Walz story. 7:35, Richard Goldberg from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies talk about Iran and Venezuela and Russia and China and, well, the whole axis that Trump is poking at. 8:05, Dr. Peter McCullough will talk about the new change in vaccination schedules here in the States. It's Larry O'Connor with the effervescent, the delightful, the blonde bombshell of morning radio, Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
That's it? That's all you got after that?
What an introduction.
That's sort of...
What a great lineup. What a great show.
We have a lot of stories to get to.
We do. Goodness.
It's also, I know everyone's saying, 5-year anniversary of January 6th. You should devote all 4 hours with mournful music.
Please.
Over the worst day in American history. And that's literally what they'll be doing on MSNBC.
Oh, yeah.
And NPR. It's also the 1-year anniversary over the start of the LA fires that decimated the Pacific Palisades. Not one house has been rebuilt. Since that fire, in 1 year, not a house has been built. The east wing of the White House will be completed before a single house is built.
So
sad. We have a lot of stuff going on in California, actually, that we're going to get you updated on. U-Haul has their updated statistics. Once again, California wins. More people are leaving that state than anywhere else. But let's first focus on an update on the Mark Kelly situation. Senator from Arizona, retired captain in the Navy, of course, former astronaut. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth made a statement yesterday saying 6 weeks ago, Senator Mark Kelly and 5 other members of Congress released a reckless and seditious video that was clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline. As a retired Navy captain who is still receiving a military pension, Captain Kelly knows he is still accountable to military justice and the Department of War, and the American people expect justice. Therefore, in response to Senator Mark Kelly's seditious statements and his pattern of reckless misconduct, the Department of War is taking administrative action against Captain Mark Kelly, U.S. Navy, retired. The department has initiated retirement grade determination proceedings under 10 U.S.C. stroke 1370F. I do love it when they talk code like that. With reduction in his retired grade resulting in a corresponding reduction in retired pay. In other words, he's being demoted and he will receive a smaller pension because of this. That may be the end of it. Not sure. He goes on to say that Captain Kelly has been provided notice of the basis for his action and his 30 days to submit a response. The retirement grade determination process directed by Secretary Hegseth will be completed within 45 days. Captain Kelly's status as a sitting U.S. Senator does not exempt him from accountability, and further violations could result in further action. It's... Yeah, I mean, some people say that he should be, court-martialed and, stripped of his pension altogether and all that. Here's the thing. The reduction in his pension is symbolic, as is the reduction in his rank. It certainly resonates with members of the military community. He's, set for life because he's a U.S. Senator, and Lord knows how people make money when they're working in the Senate.
Well, yeah.
But there's no doubt that what he did undermined and was detrimental to the military. And it's, if he were not, here's the thing, everyone says, well, he's a U.S. Senator and he's got freedom of speech. He should be able to say things like this. If he weren't a U.S. Senator, if he was just some Joe Schmo, the military would react. If he was just a retired officer in the private sector, and this kind of statement was made about Barack Obama's leadership or about, and again, it wasn't even about Trump. It was encouraging members of the military and the rank and file to question orders.
Well, and you recall they could not specify at all, ever.
Of course
they
not.
still are. They still haven't.
Anybody who interviews Mark Kelly from this point forward should begin with, did the members of Delta force that went and got Maduro in the action in Venezuela, were they breaking the law? Should they have defied those orders? Were those orders unconstitutional? And try to get a straight answer from him. What order was unconstitutional? Everybody, and I'm sorry that Secretary Hegseth just pointed out the video that they put out, because the video was so carefully crafted and so weaselly in the words that were used, that they could stop and they say, well, we were just quoting the Code of Military Justice. We were merely telling people not to obey illegal orders. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Suggesting that there are a number of illegal orders, already out there.
Right.
It
was obvious what the implication was.
Yes.
The implication was you have been given illegal orders.
Yes, and it's
disobey
your duty. Right, disobey them. Look, and I think that there are members of the Senate, particularly those who have served, who are very upset with the state of the military right now. That recruitment is up, that morale is up. You saw that video yesterday of Pete Hegseth talking to the troops. Those troops never took their eyes off him. They were riveted by what he had to say.
Yes.
And this bothers so many members who were fine with the wokeification of the military, the feminization of the military. They were perfectly fine with it. So they really are trying to sow discord. There's nothing more to this. And Kelly deserves much more punishment than this, but this is a good start. A lot of Americans are really tired of people misbehaving, and there's no cost. There's no consequences.
Mark Kelly will forever have to live with the reality that Kamala Harris evaluated him and Tim Walz side by side and thought Tim Walz was the better man. Okay? So there's that. But make no mistake, it wasn't just that ad. It was the intervening statements that he made, some on the Senate floor and some in interviews, where he said, listen, I'm just saying to the military that soon there's going to be a new president, and that president, they might have to look at the military's conduct after the fact. And some people might, have to face justice for their actions in the military. So they were basically saying, yeah, you might like being in the military right now, and you might enjoy Pete Hegseth, and you might like this hoorah stuff, and you might like all this, your Commander-in-Chief Trump. But, when Trump is gone, you're going to have to face criminal charges for your behavior in the military. That's, Nazis just were following orders, right? I mean, this is the kind of rhetoric they used.
Yes.
And in a moment, Maze Moore, who has a great X account, he's really good at finding old videos. This one's not too old. It's October 2025. It's Mark Kelly on the floor of the Senate. You listen to his words, and you tell me if this is conduct becoming a retired officer in the United States Navy. We'll share it with you in a moment.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona appears to be a deranged, if not depraved, Democrat in Washington, D.C. I know he's got a military record. I know that he served our country. I know that he was an astronaut. I know that his wife got shot in the head by a lunatic. I know also that they've used that as a political weapon against their critics, which they did yesterday, by the way, both of them releasing videos about how his wife got shot in the head, which has absolutely nothing to do with what Secretary Hegseth did yesterday. I know all of those things about Mark Kelly. But what I also know is that, like most Democrats in Washington, D.C., he is obsessed with Donald Trump. And he is obsessed with his own political ambitions. He wants to be president in 2028. He wanted to be vice president with Kamala Harris as her running mate in 2024. And I want to repeat, Kamala Harris took a look at him, took a look at Mike Walz, and said, yeah, Mike Walz is my guy. So live with that, Mark Kelly. He is obsessed with Donald Trump. He wants to damage Donald Trump. And he used the members of the United States military as a weapon against Donald Trump. Here is October 2025. Mark Kelly, Senator of Arizona, on the floor of the Senate.
But during my career, I never saw a president command the Department of Defense to do things that I felt were outside the boundaries of what we would consider illegal action against people. If you're the guy that is pulling the trigger in a combat operation, you typically expect that the people above you have done all the due diligence necessary to make sure that you are not going to be in some kind of legal jeopardy. And I really worry about that today. There might be some young Navy lieutenant out there, or Marine Corps captain, or Air Force, for all I know, MQ-9 operator, that might someday find out that they have done something that is not consistent with the law and are now in legal jeopardy. And that's a big problem. I never saw that during my 25 years in the United States Navy. The 2 ships I sunk in the Persian Gulf, not for 1 second did I feel like I was getting some bad information from the battle group or from anybody above in the chain of command, whether it was General Schwarzkopf or Colin Powell or the President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush. It was not a concern of ours. It is a concern today. And I can tell you, as I watch this from my vantage point on the Intelligence Committee and on the Armed Services Committee, there are members of our military that are now in some sort of potential future legal jeopardy.
Now, I'm sorry. How do you listen to that and not reach the conclusion that this is a man who is undermining the chain of command and planting seeds in, he specifically said, young lieutenant. You know, I know some young lieutenants in the military very well. I know some young ensigns in the military very well. They got their hands full right now. They got a lot going on as junior officers, and Captain Senator Kelly knows that full well. The kind of workload that they're under, the pressure they're under to qualify for their MOS. He knows that. And the last thing we need is some sort of braggadocious political animal trying to boost his own career by flashing his own creds out there. Oh, I sunk 2 ships and that. I'm pretty sure they were boats, not ships. They were little boats with guns on them, pal. And I never questioned General Schwarzkopf. I never questioned President Bush. Yeah, you know what? Members of your party at that time called Schwarzkopf and Bush war criminals. I remember. I saw it. And now you cannot tell me what he just said. There are members of our military that are now in some sort of potential future legal jeopardy for following their orders. The man absolutely deserves to see justice here. And it goes well beyond that TV ad. Sorry. I get a little worked up about this.
Yes. Yes.
No, it's okay. A little bit more from this, by the way. Jim Hansen, who is a real fast, let's listen to Senator Kelly. He put out a response video. Like I said, you know, all he does is flash his resume and try to grandstand on his service, and he thinks that that is a response to all of this. He reminds me of John Kerry. Here's cut 1.
I've got a question for you. How many generations of Donald Trump's family have served in the military? 0. Now, for me and my family, service to our country is in my blood. My great-grandfather served in the U.S. Navy after immigrating from Ireland. Both of my grandfathers served during World War II. Both of my parents wore uniforms. My dad in the 82nd Airborne, and both of them as career police officers. And when it was our turn, my brother and I started as volunteer EMTs, as teenagers, before becoming Navy captains, pilots in the United States Navy, and NASA astronauts. Donald Trump, he deferred the draft 5 times because he had bone spurs. Look, not everyone has to serve in our military. I get that. But when you're gonna question my patriotism and lecture me about duty to this country and threaten me with a court-martial, 4 generations of service to this country earns me the right to speak. 5 deferments earns nothing.
Absolutely despicable. As we said, Senator Kelly has 45 days to respond to this. We'll see what he says beyond that. It's 5:23. Coming up, we've got an update on California. It's been 1 year since those fires, and not one house has been rebuilt. And there's new stats from U-Haul showing whether people are moving to the Golden State or fleeing from the Golden State. Let's not forget, their governor, Gavin Newsom, he wants to be your president. All that coming up in a moment. It's 5:30 in your nation's capital.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. WMAL-FM, Woodbridge. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
5:37. Good morning. Tuesday, the 6th day of January. Coming up at 6:35, Zach Smith, Heritage Foundation legal expert and a former assistant United States attorney. He knows a thing or two about bringing criminals to justice. We're going to get his perspective on what it looks like now for Nicolas Maduro and his wife in the U.S. federal court. 7:05, Dustin Grage, investigative journalist on the ground in the Gopher State. We'll get his take on everything that led up to Tim Walz exiting the political scene yesterday. What a story. 7:35, Richard Goldberg of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies about Iran and Venezuela and Russia and China and all that stuff. And then at 8:05, we'll speak with Dr. Peter McCullough, talk about the new vaccination schedules. California is an absolute disaster, but there may be some hope on the horizon. We'll get to the hope part in just a second. But first, the disaster. It's been 1 year since the California fires that completely wiped out the Pacific Palisades, which, for those of you who don't know, it's Pacific Palisades, it's right between Santa Monica and Malibu. Beautiful, cliffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The wealthiest of the wealthy lives there. It's just a gorgeous part of the city. It's what you dream about being your end goal if you've made it big in California. And also, by the way, the fires decimated a more suburban, upper middle class neighborhood of Altadena, which is just adjacent to Pasadena, northeast of downtown Los Angeles. Those fires swept through. You know the story about how the reservoir was not filled up with water and there was incompetence, and the fire department seemed to not get the right orders in, and they didn't squelch the smoldering ashes that then reignited with the heavy winds. Long story short, it was horrific. 1 year ago, these fires captivated the world's attention. Now here we are 1 year later, and not one home has been rebuilt. Only 500 homes have started being rebuilt. Only 500 homes have started. That's out of 16,000 structures lost. And you'll remember at the time, just 4 days after inauguration, President Trump was on the ground with First Lady Melania and with Ambassador Richard Grinnell, who is an L.A. native. And they had that showdown with Karen Bass and the residents of Pacific Palisades who wanted to get in and help clean up their lots, their homes, their property.
6 months is no good.
And the number one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out debris. And, we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can. But we want you to be safe, and we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
Yes, and they can.
You should let them do it, because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
The people are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can.
There's not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot. Yeah. I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
Well, we saw where this was headed after that exchange. And you heard Karen Bass, trying to mansplain to Donald Trump about construction and demolition and cleanup. And, we just want to make sure they're safe. And Trump's like, yeah, they're safe. Let them be. They're grown-ups. Let them clean up their homes. Well, here we are 1 year later. Not one structure has been rebuilt. And it's because of the complex web of permits, the slow insurance payouts, the cost of doing business in California, which continues to grow. In October, social media person Spencer Pratt, he's a person who does Instagram videos. He's from Southern California. He put out this video, Spencer Pratt. This is in October, 10 months after the fires.
You remember when Karen Bass said permit fees would be waived for people rebuilding after the Palisades fire? Yeah, that never actually happened. She forgot to mention that she did not actually have the power to waive fees and that the waiver would require a council vote. Here we are 6 months later, and the issue is finally going to the city council budget committee.
Right. Then that committee had to vote on it, and then the broader council had to vote on it. They could have fast-tracked all of this, but they didn't. They didn't care. The fact is the White House ballroom is probably going to be completed before any of those homes in Pacific Palisades will be. California is a basket case. The state is dysfunctional. It's a mess. And now we have even more data to confirm that. The U-Haul company just released its annual report showing that more people are leaving California than any other state in the union. That is the 6th year in a row California has got that dubious distinction. And Gavin Newsom wants to be your president. Gavin Newsom is putting together a plan to be the Democrat nominee so that he can be president of the United States, and the media is going to help him. The media is going to assist this process because they don't care about reality and they don't care about the facts. But there is hope on the horizon for California, and we'll share that with you in just a moment. It's 5:43.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
CBS News has quite a write-up here on the residents of the Palisades who are still trying to get their homes rebuilt, having to wade through the web of permits and regulations and roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And it's not just the Palisades. It's Altadena as well, where structures have not been built there either. 80% of the fire survivors are still displaced in Altadena. This is, again, 1 year after those fires. California is a complete and total dysfunctional state. But if you live there, you're paying more in taxes than anywhere else in the country. 13.3%. If you're in Los Angeles, you're paying even more because they have a personal income tax in the city of Los Angeles. Also, Gavin Newsom is blocking the president's working families tax cuts. Those are the tax cuts for overtime and for tips. They're blocking that in Sacramento. Gavin Newsom personally does not want the people of California to get those tax breaks. U-Haul's report showing that the growth index that determines where people are moving from and where they're moving to ranks California dead last in their index. The 10 best-ranked states in the index have significantly lower personal income tax rates compared to the 10 worst-ranked states. If you look at the states around California, you go to Nevada, 0% income tax, Arizona, 2.5%, Utah, 4.5%, Idaho, 5.3%, Wyoming, 0%, New Mexico, 5.9%. Keep going east to Texas, and you're now at 0% income tax. Why wouldn't you load up the U-Haul and go on a road trip? The worst-ranked states, by the way, in the U-Haul Growth Index, you tell me if you see something in common with these states. Michigan, Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, and then you add in Ohio and Pennsylvania, which are technically red states, but they're cold weather states. People want to move from there. That's no excuse for California. You know that it's beautiful, warm, and sunny in California. It's a scandal. And again, I want to remind you, Gavin Newsom thinks that everything's just fine. In fact, everything's great. In fact, he would want the entire nation to look like California. He even flexed. He tweeted out yesterday a evaluation of the U.S. News and World Report of overall rankings of states, and he said, hey, Louisiana is ranked 50th in this ranking. He was doing that to tweak Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who is from Louisiana, who was pointing out the U-Haul report. Gavin Newsom also points out that California's population has grown. So how do we square that? How is California's population growing while at the same time people are moving from that state, according to U-Haul? Well, it's obvious. The population growth is all immigration, mostly illegal immigration, mostly because Gavin Newsom has promised your tax dollars to subsidize free health care, free education, and other great free benefits to people who are in the country illegally. That's Gavin Newsom's plan for our country. But I told you that there's hope on the horizon, and here's what it is. They have a ballot initiative process in California. If you get enough signatures on a petition, you can get a motion on the ballot for the people of California to vote on it. Most things that are positive in the state of California happen through ballot initiatives. So you bypass Sacramento, you bypass the legislatures. Some great ideas come from the ballot initiative. Prop 187 is the one that ensured that no tax dollars would go to illegal immigrants. That was done in the late 90s, and the incoming Democrat Attorney General decided not to fight for that ballot initiative when the federal government under Bill Clinton tried to defang it. And so it just went by the wayside. But the people of California voted for that. The people of California voted for a thing called Prop 209, which actually did pass and became law, which said that you can't give preferential treatment to minorities in the United States, in the University of California education system. No more affirmative action, no more DEI when it comes to acceptance in the state university system. Eventually, Jerry Brown and Gavin Newsom undermined those propositions. But this is what the people of California want. And now the latest ballot initiative that will be on the ballot this November, California voter ID. The Democrats in Sacramento would never do this. The governor of California would never do this. But the people of California have now gotten over 1 million signatures. It means it will be on the ballot. Voter ID will be voted on by the people of California this November, and I have faith in them. I have faith that the people of California aren't as insane as their leaders, and I have faith that they will actually get voter ID, and that could begin the process of fixing what's really wrong in that state. In the meantime, it won't stop the Democrats who seek higher office. It won't stop Kamala Harris. It won't stop Gavin Newsom. It won't stop Eric Swalwell, who wants to be the next governor of California. They still have a rigged system there. They have a rigged system with their districting. They have a rigged system with the way they do their primaries, where the two top candidates make it to the final ballot, even if the two top candidates are Democrats. They have a completely rigged system with regard to the way Sacramento does business and goes to work every single day, undermining the values of our nation. Keep an eye on California. I used to live there. I know how bad it can get. It's 5:53.